Alright, I've had a few people ask me how I do my stupid easy DK rotation that's pretty much on the same level as the stand part of this patch. I guess we can first go over the skills. The way I have it set up isn't fully optimal for DPS, so eventually once you learn this and you want to get your DPS even higher, I would recommend switching your rotations and doing more of a dynamic approach instead of a static. So for the front bar, I use Force Pulse. This will work if you have a non-perfected and a perfected. The highest I hit before getting my perfected staff was 83k on the 21 mil, and after is 86. This is going to be your main spammable, your Force Pulse. I have Engulfing and Embers on the front bar, along with Talons, just because it makes the dynamic rotation even easier to do. And then I have Inner Light here as my flex spot. As you can see, I still haven't leveled it fully. And then Meteor I almost never use, just for range fights in Raid and for the Mage's Guild passive. On the back bar I have Flames, Standard, Eruption, Barb Trap, Scolding Rune, which I still haven't leveled, and Blockade of Fire. So the reason I'm doing Blockade instead of the I'm blanking on the name, but the one that explodes after a short distance, is because this 19-second duration lines up with, I believe, Scolding Rune as well. Yeah, because that's 20 seconds. And they both match up well, and it just makes it easier to do dots and fit in more spammables. Some of the passives you'll want, if you can get all the passives, I mean, pretty much are all like really good. Key ones I'd say are, of course, Combustion to do more flame. Let's see, definitely Searing Heart, and I believe World of Rune. Yeah, definitely World of Rune. You want to get Talons and morph it to Burning, although I would recommend also for getting raid purposes, I'd get your Mystic Orb, because not all DKs can run Talons because it's ESO and this game's full of bugs. So one DK would be running Elfborn and Talons, where the rest of the DKs would use Mystic Orb in replace of Talons for Cleave. Let me see. As far as... I know there's a passive. There you go. So definitely getting your Battle Roar passive is really clutch to help us sustain. Let's see. Destruction Staff. The passives are... I mean, if you can get all of them, do. Which is pretty much helpful. Same with light armor. If you are using Elfbane, you aren't going to be having as strong of an Undaunted passive. So medium armor you wouldn't really need anything into. Like right now I'm getting 0 bonus for like Stam Recovery. Let's see. You can be a vampire if you want to. I'd say the sustain has gotten pretty good these latest patches, so it isn't completely necessary. Also on the back bar, not all fights are going to be optimal to use Barb Trapped, so that's where you're going to want to have your Psijic Order and get your Channel Acceleration in replace for that. As you can see, I've barely leveled that as well. And as far as Undaunted goes, definitely getting your Mystic Orb and your passives, because they just give you that little bit of a boost. And of course your racial passives and alchemy are really important. Let's go over my champion points really quick. So 61 to Elfborn, 10 to Spell Erosion, 49 to Elemental Expert. I definitely put more into Spell Erosion if you're doing 4-man content or getting the Lover Mundstone. Then with this rotation, you're going to be doing a lot of light attacks, so you definitely want some into Staff Expert and 56 into Master at Arms. Lastly, leaving 75 in Thaumaturge, because the dummy does apply off balance occasionally, so you will get the bonuses from the dummy, as well as like if you're in a raid where either your healer or your tank will be running an off balance, so lightning staff of some sort. As far as food goes, let's see, where's my food at? So when you're parsing, you want to always use the Ghastly Eye Bull, because you get max magic and recovery, 2 things you need. For raids and stuff, the Pickled Fish Bowl is going to be one of your best bets. As well as, I don't have it on me, but the Clockwork Citrus, if you really are really struggling with recovery. I'd only ever use Witch Mothers if you're doing like really puggy stuff, or just like you're doing like your random dungeons, or just stuff that doesn't matter. Just because your max magic is a lot lower, than if you were using like clockwork for recovery. And then of course you want your, not trash pots, your spell power pots that give you your major sorcery, your major prophecy, and your major intellect. Now jumping into the rotation, this one is super easy. I guess I should probably go over gear really quick. So for the front bar, you can either do a flame enchant, because I mean that's a DK to get the most damage from, or you can throw in a double dot poison. The reason I would say only use double dot poison if you're using a different setup than Elfbane is because from your light attacks, let's see if I can proc it, your burning passive usually only lasts 3 seconds, but as you can see in the top, it lasts 8 due to Elfbane. So it almost acts as a poison enchant. I don't know exactly how close they are related. Your back bar, always want to have your Maelstrom infused with your spell damage. And then, so for this, I'm using 2 zanns, both light divines. And then you don't have to have Prefected False Gods because you're only getting the 3 perk passive. But if you have it, might as well use it. And then, of course, you're going to have your 2 Elfbane, which are both heavy, so you have to have your rings. When I did the 83k parse, that was with purple gear, so you can hit 80k with this static rotation in full purple gear. The only thing I'd say definitely recommend golding out is your staves. Those are your key DPS pieces. Always want to transmute your stuff to Bloodthirsty. If you don't have Bloodthirsty unlocked, I'd get it unlocked. And if you have to use something, I guess infused would probably be second best. But you always want to use Bloodthirsty. So for this rotation, it's super simple. I guess I'll start over here first. You want to buff up with your flames. And after you use your flames, you want to drop your, I guess do it over here first, your rune and your trap. After that, you usually have, because the rune takes 2 seconds to activate and the trap takes, I believe, about the same. So they will go off at the same time. So after that is when you drop your blockade and your eruption. Normally what I do with eruption is I bar swap it because it's a longer animation. But it's up to you. Then once you get to your front bar, you're going to start with your burning embers, your breath, and then you're going to use your talons. After that is where your spam bubble comes in, and that's where you're going to force pulse 8 times. You can either count them out, or what I do is I look in the very top, or say when I have talons up, it says 8 seconds, and then I'll just keep spamming until it gets down to 0, and when the second hits 0, I know I need to reapply my talons. After I do that, you use 2 more spammables, swap to your back bar, and repeat. You can always fit in your standard in between, like say for example, the best place to probably fit it is once you're first pulsing. So let's say I do my buff up, drop my rune, my trap, my blockade, eruption, embers, breath, talons. Here I can either do a light attack force pulse and then swap to drop a standard, or you can just, after the second you put talons down, swap standard and come back. So once you place the standard down, then you'd want to use 7 weaves. You do your 7, talons, do your 2, swap to your front or your back bar, and it's just a rinse and repeat. I'll probably put something down below of the rotation I use. 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, talons, 1, 2. I would say be careful though when you are using, say, force pulse and you bar swap with it, because if you are on your bonus, like from the passive of your staff, if you're on your bonus force shock, it can sometimes cancel out. Let's see if I can get it to work. So right there was my bonus one, but as you can see, it only gave me the normal proc. So here, sorry. As you see, like the little numbers in the top are what you get the bonus from. So if you see, if I do it normally, you get little numbers. But if I bar swap when I do it, I only get the basic numbers. Let's see, I'm trying to think of anything else I need to cover. Like I said, I'll leave something down below to help show the rotation a little bit more. I can show a parse, there we go. Show my most recent parse that's sped up. I believe this should be it. Yes, there you go. The entire time that you want to be using these abilities, you want to be weaving in light attacks, both for your zanns procs and your burning passive. But also, light attacks right now are basically the only thing that is making a skill gap, which Zoss is trying to take away. As well as bash weaving. I really haven't gotten into bash weaving, but if you are good at it, I know you can bash weave force pulse pretty well. Just haven't really attempted it yet. You're going to see it in this parse. I believe I drop a meteor just because the Atro is getting low enough to where a standard wouldn't buff it. But normally in a parse you'll be able to use, if you can get the rotation down, 4 standards. But once you start getting your rotation down even more and more, the last standard is going to turn into a meteor just because you don't have as much time to drop a standard, which we'll probably see up here in a second. Yeah. Because the difference between standard and meteor is 50 ultimate, so by the time that I'd have standard up, the DPS would pretty much be, like the parts would be finished with. So another thing as well, when you get to execute range, and you saw when he had probably like 1 mil health left, I didn't refresh eruption because it lasts extremely long. Let me go to skills. So this one's, oh, is it the same? No, it's okay. So yeah, most of your abilities are going to last 19 seconds. Eruption lasts 24. So usually when it gets to that range, I'm not going to refresh it just because it's not as crucial. As for example, the ones you mainly want to refresh are your trap, your blockade, and your breath, as well as your talons, because those do a ridiculous amount of damage right now. So when it comes to execute range, those are the ones I would probably only refresh going into it, and then going straight into your spammables. But it's up to you. So far, that like seeing the best results from doing just those ones. Well, I hope this can help raise some people's DPS. I'm sorry this is going to be edited very well, and it's basically just recorded straight from my old streaming setup. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or if I missed anything, just leave in the comments. Thanks.